All right, ladies and gentlemen, here we go. Stay resolute.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, live from Pittsburgh Studio Number 1, it's Cold War Radio. Here's your host, Hutch Bailey Jr.
All right, we made it to the end of another week, ladies and gentlemen. Here we are. This is Cold War Radio, and thank you for choosing it. From the Alpha Foxtrot studio, the Cold War Radio patron hotline, 412-206-6208. The voicemail, 412-567-1460. Please go to SteelCityResistance.com, where you can become a Cold War Radio patron and keep this train on the track. Catch the research room, the video 2 page. To write to the program, write to scrtv@live.com or via the U.S. Postal Service, Cold War Radio, at P.O. Box 10433 370, Castle Shannon Boulevard, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, 15234. All right, without further ado, so I don't have to do this by myself, let's swing over to the other Commonwealth in the vast 57 states, Virginia. Welcome Jack to the show. Hello, Jack.
Amazing. Hey, Hutch. Hey, everyone tuned in on Spreaker, and hello. Big salute to the folks in the VFW Spreaker chat room. Good to be here Friday. Lots going on. Let's get to it.
Yeah, why don't you talk a little bit about your week? Give me about 2 or 3 minutes to upload these links that weren't uploading until 5 seconds ago. But that way you'll get to hear the clips too.
Yeah, it's one of the things that comes up at the end of the month here when we're doing the oystering is we change areas in the state of Virginia. They have conservation, so they kind of manage the areas where you can harvest oysters. This month we're closing out an area up there by Urbana, Virginia, and opening up next week is just at the mouth of the bay, at the mouth of the Rappahannock in the bay, for Patentongue, which is another way to gather the oysters. So we're working on getting that boat ready, and it's a big different. We're going from a 35-footer to a 45-foot boat for a few more weeks, and then hopefully spring is sprung, and I can stop doing that manual labor until next October, because I don't feel like doing this full time too much,
I'll tell you, I remember reading, that reminds me of, you look at the government and everybody that wants to make any entrepreneurial project, that involves harvesting anything.
Right.
They want to make you the big polluters and the robbers of the thieves of the natural resources. And anybody who's in an industry like that, it just brings to mind the lobsters in Maine, where my stepson is in school right now. They're more in to keeping everything squared away than the people that are watching it. I mean, it's their livelihood.
Right. I mean, it's how they earn a living. And if you talk about, I just joined the Waterman fraternity last year, but if folks thinking politically, they always hear about the Chesapeake Bay, the watershed, and if you look at the Clean Water Act and things, and some of the tributaries, it actually reaches way up into your state in Pennsylvania, where I remember when Obama was president, they were talking about if you had a puddle in your front yard, if it was in a certain area, you weren't allowed to do anything with it. If you drove over it with your car, you could be subject to a fine from the Clean Water Act, you know.
Well, I know that from going down to Maryland on a regular basis, because that's where Aberdeen Proving Ground was. Mm-hmm. And I went to school there and went to a bunch of other things there. But there is some truth to the fact that the tributaries coming from central Pennsylvania are highly fertile. I mean, it's some of the most prime farmland in the country. And when you look at the tributaries coming into the Chesapeake Bay, there is a problem. I don't know what the answer is, and I don't even know if it is a problem. It looks like a problem. You know, it's all kinds of things growing in the water to the point where it doesn't look like water.
Right. It's not even just in this, but Chesapeake Bay is such a large resource for, the United States and abroad from its produce. If you look down south, even in Florida, they've got Okeechobee. There's a big deal about Lake Okeechobee there, and the same a similar thing about farm runoff from over fertilizing the ground, and then when the rain rushes that fertilizer and the waste into the natural filters in Lake Okeechobee, you get there's algae. And I think Lake Okeechobee, and some of our listeners are from Florida, maybe they can correct me, but Lake Okeechobee, like part of it reaches out to the east coast of Florida and part of it drains out on the west side, the panhandle of Florida. So it's like affecting both sides. So there's a fight there that's been going on environmentally. It's like you said, it's something that we definitely need to be aware of. But, when the federal government gets involved with that kind of local activity, most of the times they get it wrong.
Just think Bill Gates. I mean, this is everything that you have to filter out now has to be through the lens of politics. These people were in the midst of a Marxist revolution. I explained that the other night. It's very clear. The lines have been drawn. They want people into the cities and out of the country. They're going to bite off more than they can chew. They've already started. We're going to talk a little bit about that tonight. But, anytime you hear any kind of bad mouthing of rural America or farming or timber or anything like that, it's all designed to get everybody in the city. And that might sound crazy, but it's true, man. You got to believe me. They want control so badly they can taste it, and they're never going to get it. They're going to try hard, and we're not as robust as we once were, that's for sure. I'm looking at these people. I did a neighborhood walk the last couple of days and drive just to go through some neighborhoods that I was familiar with and I hadn't been in for a while. And I went to one of our Jewish neighborhoods, and I saw these elderly people lined up for 2 blocks most of them were Jewish people. It was at a Jewish center for the vaccine. And they've all got these masks on, and I'm thinking, Jesus, lady, you're 80 years old. What made you think that this is the year you needed to wear a mask? You didn't wear a mask the last 79 years, and you went through more stuff than most if you lived in Pittsburgh when it comes to the environment. And now all of a sudden this year you think that you need a mask to live. It's sickening, Jack. It's something that we have to reverse. And I think I don't like the idea of just letting it fade away. I think we need to stop it in a direct way. I think that people need to be given a choice. I mean, something has to be, you have to get to a point where you say, am I going to play this game or am I going to tell the truth?
Yeah. And while I'm no fan of CPAC, just from the dirty dealings and whatever the people involved with it and all that stuff. For the show, I'm reviewing it and watching some videos. I watched Don Jr.'s speech, and what I can say is, if you go by and you see how Florida's handling it, I didn't see masks on those people, even in the audience or outside the auditorium on Media Row. I saw the folks there that were doing the radio shows and stuff like that. None of them had masks on.
Right.
And that right there should be an example. So there's examples of how to deal with this situation. It's not like Florida has no cases, never had a case, and there's a door blocking COVID-19. They're handling it their way.
That's right.
Under the leadership of Governor DeSantis. And then you contrast that with states that are locking down and like businesses are going under, and and you can plainly see that it's over the top. All
ladies and gentlemen,
restrictions.
I would ask you to go and find Governor DeSantis's CPAC speech. One of the problems with covering CPAC on a show like this is unless I spend hours downloading and then editing for time these clips, it's hard to get the clips because they're 15 minutes long.
Right.
So go and look at DeSantis had a great speech. I mean, he called out our states, Jack. He called them what they are, slave states. He said, I will never go. I'm glad CPAC was held here because I would have never went to one of these slave states. It's not I'm not doing it. I'm never going there again to any of these lockdown states.
Yeah.
And I agree with him.
One of the good things that I've seen that's hinted at is that CPAC may never return to Washington, D.C.
And they should.
Right there, that's a good deal because once you sit there and have that, I think the event was held in D.C.
for 50
forever.
years.
So you're right there in the middle of the swamp. So they have no outs. Now they're on the outside where freedom is, and the real conservative people, the voters, can gather and their ideas can be heard. It's like DeSantis said, if any of the establishment came down there to speak, they'd be booed off the stage.
Yeah, actually, Gates said that.
Should be.
Gates said that, and we have that clip that we'll play in a minute. Let me just cover a couple of things that I've seen. One of the things that it made me sad, but in the same breath, it kind of made me feel like good. It serves you right. I went through one of the more gentrified neighborhoods of the city. It happens to be a neighborhood that I grew up in that was not gentrified at the time I grew up. It was half gentrified. But I went down and I walked the business district of Shadyside, and this is where the elite live, Jack. This is where the descendants of the Mellons and the Fricks and the Westinghouse, this is where all the titans live that are now communists, that their whole lifestyle is fueled by capitalism, raw capitalism, I'll even submit. But I had to look in amazement as every fourth or fifth store was vacant, was for lease. I've never seen that in my entire life, even through the late 70s and early 80s when the steel mills crashed. There was still never an empty store or an empty spot on Walnut Street, and now there's lots of them. And I'm thinking, Mayor Bill Peduto, Governor Tom Wolf, County Council Rick Fitzgerald, you guys managed to screw up something that hasn't been screwed up ever. You people ought to be hung by your heels. I mean, I can't believe the powerful and rich idiots that live there put up with it. I just can't. I mean, now, Mayor Bill Peduto's little dive bar is good to go. Cappy's is nice sitting there, but everything else, it's like unbelievable.
But that's the part of the Great Reset. Just, like you said, they're going to take away all of the independence of the small businesses were the backbone of this country.
Absolutely.
And you look at it right now, it's slowly being choked out. To me, that's one of the reasons why they're delaying so long, why the Democrats, in addition to worsening the chances of Trump being reelected, even though he did and got stolen, was to keep pressure and more pressure by restrictions and on the COVID and all this deal on small businesses. And they haven't stopped since then, which is why I said the comparison of seeing what Florida's doing compared to what if you're in a lockdown state like I am, it's mask mandatory everywhere with the potential of, penalty.
It's getting ready to be the potential of me going to jail. I'm about had enough of this mask, and I'm about ready to go to jail. I think more people ought to be that way. It's something that we're not going to get out of it any other way, man. I'm telling you, this is getting to the point where we're going to have to fight our way out of it because too many people, it's becoming normal. And once it becomes normal, once you accept less than you used to, you're toast, man. You're toast.
I remember watching.
They'll tell you to walk around in your underwear and you'll do it.
Yeah, they had
get on the damn truck.
On the news back in the day, you'd see China with some kind of a pandemic going on, and you saw all the people wearing masks, and you're just like, man, can't they get it right?
I saw that in Korea.
And but that. Japan does it to a certain extent too, but if you've never been in Tokyo, or in a place like that, that's that tightly congested of a population where something could spread like that. Seoul, Korea, Tokyo. I think it's more populated than, in the United States. What would you think? New York City, maybe?
Both of them are more populated than New York.
Right.
Plus, New York's heading out of big city status rapidly. They're going to break up. They're going to break up into protectorates. There's
the congestion, right?
There,
What do you do? In Japan and Tokyo? They rent like little tubes that you slide in for sleep overnight. It's not a room,
right?
It's like a vacuum tube. You just roll it out, lay in there, and get stuffed in there. So
you go to Korea and the terrain is so mountainous, and when I say mountainous, not mountainous with dirt, mountainous with granite and tungsten and rock mountains, and the lowland is used for food, for rice mainly, and livestock. But so they're buried vertically. You know what I mean? And they're not even dug into the hills because of the rocks. They're dug like halfway in, and then they make a sand dune out of dirt. I don't know how to explain it, but you're not totally under the ground, if you will, below the surface. You're under the ground, but you're not below the surface, and you're buried vertically, so you don't take up so much acreage. Just a little trivia there. I saw one other thing before we get to the stories today. I went to the Italian section of town, to be specific, but a pizza shop that had been there for decades caught fire a couple months ago. My son was actually at the fire, and it burned out. But there's a big sign on the front of the pizza shop saying, "We have relocated temporarily to such and such an address." And this address is like way down by the train track. It's right on the edge of the neighborhood. You got to negotiate your way down there pretty carefully. It's pretty tight. But this Italian bakery, this Italian bread bakery, Sancioli's, they gave them half of their. They had a warehouse and a shipping dock where they baked the bread and load the trucks up and send them out. They gave them the loading dock area, and the pizza shop, Pizza Italia. They transformed that into a temporary pizza shop, man. I went and got pizza there.
Cool.
There's 5 guys working in there, man. They're not slowing down. They're working. No masks, no nothing. And I'm like, yeah, I'll give me a small pizza. Well, I wanted just a cut, but I didn't want Sicilian.
Yeah, it's like we can stay in business, but we're going to have to burn the place down so we can get that insurance money.
I don't know. They probably weren't insured, knowing them. But anyway, they're still running, and I was really excited watching those 5 guys in there because the working conditions sucked. You know what I mean? They're in a warehouse, but
that's where you're going to go to get a slice, right?
Yeah, a cut. It's Pittsburgh, man. It's a cut. You got to watch that Barstool guy, that John Flory, whatever his name is. He goes out, he rips all over Pittsburgh, man. So what do you mean a cut? It's a cut, man. You want to cut or don't you? Cut your ass out of here. But anyway, President Joe Biden ordered his first military airstrikes yesterday, targeting multiple facilities used by Iranian-backed militia groups in eastern Syria, according to the Pentagon. Well, there's so many things in that sentence. I mean, do you trust the Pentagon? I don't. The strikes were in response to recent attacks against American and U.S.-led coalition personnel in Iraq. Did you hear about those attacks, Jack? I certainly didn't. I didn't hear about any attacks on Americans in Iraq. Did you?
No, there was a couple of bombings. One was at a market, right? A bombing in a market. Then there was
ongoing threats to those personnel.
Yes, threats.
Pentagon Press Secretary John Kirby said in a statement Thursday evening, at President Biden's direction, President
Biden.
U.S. military forces earlier this evening conducted airstrikes against infrastructure utilized by Iranian-backed militant groups in eastern Syria, Kirby said, adding, these strikes were authorized in response to recent attacks against American and coalition personnel in Iraq that we never heard of, and to ongoing threats to those personnel that are bullshit. Specifically, the strikes destroyed multiple facilities located at a border control point used by a number of Iranian-backed militant groups, including Kataib Hezbollah, KH, and Kataib Saeed al-Shuhada, KSS. Well, I guess Vice President Harris is getting her beak wet here, because you know damn well Biden didn't have nothing to do with that.
I don't know. I seen circulated a Jack Posobiec. I think he works for OANN, right?
He works for one of them,
a tweet that he put out that Kamala is pissed because she was not informed about this at all. But the attack.
I heard your senators like that too. Tim Kaine said the same thing.
Oh, I'm and I saw another article where it was referencing when President Trump, hit that airport. Remember that? Hit the airport.
Yeah.
He was briefing the Congress, and the Democrat members of Congress stormed out of the meeting or the briefing of President Trump. Well, the Biden administration is refusing to even hold a briefing for the Democrats on this.
And Biden didn't direct anything. Barack Obama directed that. You people think we're so stupid. I'm telling you. Biden isn't doing anything.
It was just after he took office, he announced that he was sending troops back into Syria to secure the oil fields. Remember that?
Indeed.
Well, obviously, and you look at, you add 1 and 1 to make 2. That says the strikes destroyed multiple facilities located at border control point. What do you think? He's opening the road so they can move them folks back and forth freely to the oil fields. Come on, man.
I mean, this is ridiculous. I don't know why postal workers are so damn smart, but you know that John Kasich's lineage includes postal workers, and he's just so smart. It's you'd almost think that this guy was an American college graduate, because they're pretty smart too, Jack. I mean, especially the ones under 50. I mean, some of the things that they believe. I mean, in one voice, they'll tell you the only people in the country that should be able to have guns is cops. And then 5 minutes later, they're out in the street saying defund the cops.
Yeah.
And pigs in a blanket, fry them like bacon. Which one is it? I mean, these people are so smart that they think Asia is a country.
Which way is the wind blowing today? That's
right.
How you know which way they're going to think.
I mean, have you ever heard anything as ridiculous as Asian food? I don't see how more people aren't infuriated by that. Oriental people specifically, when you know history between some of these countries and the vast. I mean, there's similarities in the culture, but they're so different, and to just lump them all together to me is arrogant American nuts. But that's just me. I was taught that Asia was the biggest continent. I mean, they even tried to blend Europe into it and call it Eurasia in some regions. But anyway, that's just another thing. John Kasich, ladies and gentlemen, on CNN, where he loves to go.
Steel and spine. What do you make of the fact that more and more the QAnon congressman is coming out and speaking with people behind her on behalf of the party? And McConnell saying he would back Trump absolutely in 2024, even though he just said 12 days ago the guy may be found criminally responsible for what happened on January 6th. Is it really over in that party for Republicans like you?
Yep.
Well, I don't know if you and Dana will agree with me on this, but I think Trump's popularity and strength is fleeting every day.
Genius.
Yeah, it exists with state parties who don't have the power that they used to have, and maybe with these members of Congress who look over their shoulders and they're afraid of a primary, which to me is ridiculous. But the biggest problem that Trump is causing is it's very difficult for Republicans to recruit candidates because candidates don't want to get into this craziness. So I think there's a situation here where I can tell you this. People who have been very smart, who have been wealthy, who stood behind Trump, they're leaving. January 6th was it for them. And so I think it's ripe now for candidates to be able to get out and meet with people who are smart, who are successful, who do have resources, and can get them to support them because I think Trump's losing his power. And I think it's going to continue. He can't affect much now. He's going to go make a speech at CPAC. Everybody's going to go gaga. But at the end, I see him as a disappearing guy. I really do.
Dana, how do you read the silence on the right?
Crickets.
Deafening. Yeah, I'm not sure I agree with the governor on.
The governor, what a moron. I mean, these people believe this too, Jack. They do. Some of them do.
Well,
I don't. Kasich is an idiot.
Yeah, my first thought was, wait a minute. All right, Kasich is still relevant because CNN is paying him. He's a paid consultant. He was hired there. There's a big kind of ethics deal because he always has aspirations. There was a push for him to actually challenge President Trump, right?
Yeah, that was
and then I looked
funny.
into it. Yeah, and I looked at it. Yes, he's getting paid, and there was an issue there. But then I found this story. Let me just give this first little paragraph, and you'll know what it is as soon as I'm done with this paragraph. 21 men have accused Republican strategist John Weaver, a key advisor in ex-Ohio Governor John Kasich's presidential bid, of sending sexually provocative messages, according to the New York Times. Some of the unsolicited messages, including those sent to a 14-year-old boy, occurred while Weaver worked for Kasich. Weaver joined Kasich's presidential campaign as a senior strategist in early of June 2015 and remained on the payroll of Kasich's Political Action Committee through May 2019. And remember, what did Karl Rove say? We all knew about this in 1988.
Since the 80s, yeah. There you go. He's out for survival. Good job, man. Yeah. Good job. He's out for, he's looking, and there's a lot of them like that. I still want to know what Pat Toomey's thing is. Pat Toomey's got something going on. We know what Mitch McConnell's is. He's a Chinese agent. If he wins another election, Kentucky ought to be just disbanded. I mean, I feel the same way about Utah.
That's why you think McConnell's been doing what he's been doing. He just got 6 more years.
I know it.
With Trump's help. So
I wonder if there's a recall mechanism in Kentucky.
No, we asked Rico that last week. He said no.
Okay, well, we'll have to put up with him. We just had to marginalize him, I guess. The rest of the members of the Senate, you better read the freaking tea leaves, folks.
They need to remove. They can ask him. I think they were asking him to step down from his leadership position within the party.
He should.
You know, if there's enough pressure from other senators. Did I say that?
He's the lowest. He's got the lowest rating in the Senate right now, GOP wise. People hate him. You think they'd figure it out?
He was losing to McGrath, and then Trump came in and did a rally.
A Trumpism.
Yeah, him and Graham. Both of them turned. I mean, we knew this about these people, though, you know?
That's the part I couldn't understand. And I understand the numbers part of it because it was tight, man. You got to look at that. But you look at, and you're going to hear Gates talk about it later about McConnell and his, all he cares about is if the candidate can win. You know, and that's not working for guys anymore. It's just not. We've had enough of this. John Durham, here's a surprise. Go ahead, sorry.
No, I was done with that. Done with it.
Here's a surprise. John Durham announced on Friday he will resign as U.S. Attorney effective February 28th. Damn, that's 2 days from now, at midnight. Durham was investigating the Mueller-Russia collusion coup. No, he wasn't. Against President Trump and his administration. He was appointed as special cover-up counsel in October. He resigned as U.S. Attorney in Connecticut. There will likely be no indictments after the deep state spied on Trump and attempted to throw him from office. Sarah Lynch says Durham will still be working as special counsel, so it may be too early to tell if anything comes out of his special counsel work. Attorney General nominee Merrick Garland. Do you realize what a bullet we dodged with this communist if he would have been on the Supreme Court? Sarah Lynch says Durham will still be working as special counsel, so it may be too early to tell if anything comes out of his special counsel work. Attorney General nominee Merrick Garland declined to say if he will keep Durham as special counsel, but it is unlikely. This guy is a time bomb, Merrick Garland. I'm telling you, this guy is wow. He's freaking horrible. He's worse than Barr.
He's the one that Obama was trying to get a Supreme Court at the end of his term, remember?
I do.
But then you look at it. Look at the recent Supreme Court decisions on things, constitutional issues, which seems pretty, black and white. There's no gray area. There's something that the court should at least hear the case. Kavanaugh, Amy Coney Barrett, Gorsuch.
Gorsuch has been okay. Gorsuch has been all right? It's been Roberts, Kavanaugh.
Well, Roberts we already knew about. Now you have Kavanaugh and Amy Coney Barrett.
Yeah,
they basically joined the.
Almost on every decision, man. It's like, what happened?
Yeah.
Did the NSA come in? Do they really have some pictures of these guys?
They were talking about the Constitution here.
I know, and elections. I mean, what's more important? It's really crazy. I mean, the whole, one of the things that bothers me, and ladies and gentlemen, if you refer back to Wednesday's program when I talked about, I think that's when I talked about the different steps of Marxist revolution. But you look at some of these things that are happening, and you can see that's what they're destabilizing everything. I mean, if you look at the way the left is going all in with lawlessness, Jack, in every aspect of that idea. I mean, you look in Chicago. I mean, you don't even have to look there. You can look at L.A. County at the DA there, and you look at the different places where they're stopping prosecution of illegal immigration. Of some areas are doing it by race.
They got to make room in the courtroom for all this woke
for all of us
thing. Hey, how dare you? Long for Mr. Potato Head, your toy of youth.
Right. But now in Chicago and Illinois, you've got convicted cop killers, Joseph Hurst and Johnny Veal. They've been paroled in Chicago. On Thursday, 68-year-old Veal and 77-year-old Hurst were both granted parole by the Illinois Prisoner Review Board after killing police officers in two separate incidents. Now, if you don't think this is to demoralize police officers in Chicago, you're not paying attention. And to demoralize you as well. Law enforcement today reports that in Hurst's case, he was convicted for the 1967 killing of Officer Herman Stallworth, as well as wounding the deceased officer's partner during the incident. Hurst was said to have been pulled over for speeding back in '67, which is when he killed Officer Stallworth and wounded his partner. Hurst was originally sentenced to the death penalty, but was then resentenced to 100 to 300 years in prison after the U.S. Supreme Court placed a moratorium on capital punishment in '72. Veal murdered Sergeant James Severin and Officer Anthony Rosado in 1970 in Chicago's Cabrini Green public housing complex. Clearly, the intent of the court was for these murderers to pay for the lives they stole with life in prison, former police superintendent Phil Klein of the Chicago Police Memorial Foundation said of the parole board decision. More importantly, allowing these men to be free sends a troubling message to the families of these officers that their sacrifice and the lives of their loved ones are somehow insignificant. The Law Enforcement Today report adds that Cook County State's Attorney Kim Foxx also voiced opposition to seeing Veal paroled, saying that the killings of the two officers were cold-blooded execution and pointed out that he bragged about the slayings. Kim Foxx, is that the...
Jesse Smollett?
Yeah.
Yeah, let him go.
Is that the one that let him go?
Yeah.
I remember the name, but I couldn't remember
She
the
refused
circumstances.
to charge him, after all the evidence came out. But to add to this is Chicago. You already have rampant murder rates, blacks killing blacks, right? Ignored. And now you combine this with the rising of anti-police mentality, defund the police, like you were saying, to fry them like bacon. Now you have convicted, life-sentenced police officer murderers being paroled and let back out. That sends a message to those criminals, hey, it's open season.
Right. And it also, let's go back. I want to go back to the 4 steps of Marxist takeover of America, because we have to look at, whenever you see something that doesn't make sense, you got to put it up against something and see where it does make sense. The 4 steps of Marxist takeover, real quickly. The first goal of revolutionary propaganda, particularly the Marxist variety, is to demoralize. It's to depress you and make you believe your civilization is lost. Once you succumb to that, you are, in the words of Ming the Merciless, satisfied with less. The second step, destabilization. Letting cop killers out, that would be destabilization, wouldn't it? You would think, along with all the COVID ridiculousness that's going on. The third stage is crisis. You're getting ready to see crisis. You see it already with the race riots that the Democrats are staging, with the lying about the insurrection and with the COVID. And pretty soon, Department of Homeland Security, a poorly named organization, has started to leak out expectations that there's going to be waves at the border. That's to get you ready for that, because the third stage is crisis. The fourth stage is normalization. And this, Jack, is a stage that makes me the most nervous. And when I see people walking around in masks outside by themselves, or driving around in their freaking cars with a mask on by themselves, I want to hit them with a fire hose, man. Not hit them with, hit them with water from the fire hose.
Those are easily identifiable to, the folks in the power structure that want. All they want is lemmings, right?
That's exactly right.
They want the whole entire nation to be sheep that bow to the federal government or anything that's government oriented. Look to the answer. Don't be able to take care of yourself. If something bad happens, you need to look to the government for the
That's
handout.
right,
If
man.
you're
And
not
they're even
good,
telling
if
you
you
that.
don't behave yourself, you're not going to get it, right?
And they're even telling you that. I mean, Joe Biden, he's been saying, I think we need the government. Yeah, come on. You just reminded me a couple funny things. You talk about people and lemmings and whatnot. I got a couple gems from the police radio for you tonight. The first one, 50-year-old man.
These are 911 calls?
These are these are the dispatch calls to the cops.
Okay.
See the man, 50 years old, states that he just smoked a joint that was laced with heroin and he's having hallucinations. And I'm thinking, dude, what were you looking for? You smoked a joint with heroin in it and you're hallucinating. You're a success story. Why call the police?
You're a success.
Right? You're doing good. Jesus. And the next one, see the man, 58 years old, who accidentally drank Drano.
Accidentally
drank Drano. He
I
opened
always
the
keep
bottle
a
of
bottle
Drano.
next to my gin under
You
the
think it said
sink.
Pruno?
I hide it from my wife.
By accident. Right, that shit had to hurt, boy. Yeah, that had to be a painful call. I remember The only time I ever see
talking.
I don't know. There was two things that remind me of. One was my third grade teacher. This is back in 1967 or 68. And she was old as dirt then, Miss Irons. I mean, she told us about World War II firsthand. You know, I mean, it was a hell of an education. But she talked about making soap out of bacon fat and lye.
Lard and lye, yeah, lye soap.
And she said that she left. She was explaining, like, don't do this at home, kids. You know, there was like a saucer, a coffee cup of lye on the table, and somebody in her household ate it, drank it, and it like took their tongue out. You know, I don't know if they survived or what. I can't remember, but
I think it's
anyway.
a pH thing. I think lye is the opposite of acid, but they both at the extremes will do the same thing, eat you up.
Okay, I thought lye was an acid. It's probably a base then. I
Base,
never dealt
I
with
think
it.
it's
Never dealt
base.
with it. But that was I mean,
Our smart listeners can
Yeah.
square us away into VFW.
I'm
tech.
sure they
I think
will.
lye is base and acid is like hydrochloric acid is the opposite, but they're both very bad for you.
yeah, if you're going to make soap out of grease, you know it's bad. But anyway, that was
That's how you get the silky smooth skin.
there you go. I mean, that's what it's all about, man, making stuff yourself. We haven't heard from this guy in a while. Well, first, like I said before, DHS officials are starting to warn of migration crisis. They're starting to get you ready for large amounts of Central and South Americans to be influxed into our cities, probably into red areas. This is a sick move. It's horrible. They don't care about people. They've got cages with little Mexican kids in them. I mean, I don't know. I don't see how a Democrat citizen sleeps at night, man. I mean, now a lot of them have to be stupid. There has to be a lot of that going on. But the ones that aren't, the ones that know what they're doing, the ones that are not college educated, how do they sleep at night? Knowing that they're going to pollute this country with people have no COVID, no any health tests, no any communicable disease tests, and they're coming from an environment that doesn't have a winner, Jack. I mean, this is where insects and bacteria and viruses, it lasts generations, seasons. It doesn't die in the winter.
But doesn't that coincide with what you were talking about the Marxist effort, right?
Sure.
That's part of the deal. It's like, hey, wait a minute. Everybody here has got to wear a mask. We got to do this. Now they're opening the border and going to let these people in and not even test them.
And that's what they're doing, and it's to demoralize. And that's why the Department of Homeland Security is involved in it. It's a shame that you can't trust any agency in the government. That's another part of the demoralization and destabilization. And you know, like for instance, the FBI that we're going to talk about in a minute, you know there's patriotic agents in that agency. You know there are. You know that there's military people because I served with them.
There, you've got plenty of folks, especially on the enlistment side or joining or going to college to get enough education to be able to become a certain FBI agent. The aspirations are there to be are patriotic, right?
Yeah, who would go through that if not?
Right, because it's not like it's
not
you're
easy.
not going to become a millionaire.
And it's not like it's easy. When you go to the FBI, they find out everything about you. I mean, that's going to your neighbors and your school buddies and everything else to get into the FBI. That's no joke. Plus, a psychological evaluation and all these things, none of them work, Jack, apparently. I mean, you look what we've got. It's like the service academies. They're supposed to be the places that they vet out these communists, and they let them right in. You got General Austin. You got all the generals we talked about, Milley and McMaster, and just scores of them. And these institutions are supposed to filter that out.
Well, we had little hints of that. We did a show about 2 years now where they had the West Point graduate with a commie under his hat at the graduation, and they tracked it.
I wonder if he's a major yet. Is he a major yet? I mean, does he have a battalion yet?
The last I heard, he was at Fort Drum as a first lieutenant. And
Yeah, that was back when we were doing the story. I remember that.
right, and somehow he was going through it, but he traveled with a professor who happened to be Islamic, right? Traveled with this professor from West Point over.
Imagine that. Why does West Point have an Islamic professor anyway?
You were just
You know? I mean, can we wake up and see who the enemy is? It's not like they haven't been an enemy for 1,000 years to Christianity. I mean, it's enough to stabilize you or demoralize you.
So that's where that was an answer to where do we get these generals that are like, well, we just saw what happens at West Point right now.
Sure.
So
and it happens at Annapolis. It happens everywhere else too, not just West Point. But West Point has to be the most visible. Oh my goodness, the things that are happening.
Senator Lindsey Graham like a reserve officer?
Yeah.
Come
So
on.
most of the bad ones are. So is Whiz Bang from Illinois.
Whiz Bang. It's Kinzinger?
Yeah, he's an Air Force pilot. Yeah. I couldn't find a source of his commission. I tried. I couldn't find a source of his commission. Graham's a lawyer. He's a military lawyer.
Right. JAG.
And you got, I think Cotton did one term or something like that. I think he was a captain.
The former press secretary, Dancing with the Stars, Spicer, right? He's Navy
he's
Reserve.
a Coast Guard or something, or Navy, something like that. But yeah, Jim Acosta, who I don't think ever has been in the military, decided to go down to CPAC. Jack, that was kind of interesting. But a reporter,
What do you think?
a reporter
CNN
from,
was saying, boom.
though, when I used to cover them, you go to the media room, right? And everybody's had their cameras, just like at the Trump rallies. All the cameras were lined up. The only person that was at his post was campaign Carl Cameron from Fox News. All the rest of the cameras were by themselves. Wasn't anybody there. Old Cameron, he was there though. I don't know what happened to him.
Carl.
Yeah, he went lefty too. I thought he was okay.
Yeah, he went.
That's the
he
weirdest
was
looking dude I
anti-Trump.
ever saw.
It was
man.
that. It was during the 2016 campaign where
Yeah.
he just basically
he
lost
bloated.
it, and you haven't seen him since.
No, I used to have a picture with him on Facebook. That was my avatar, or whatever they call him.
I think it was right after Trump secured the nomination to run against Hillary that campaign Carl, I guess, hooked up with Baghdad Bob, and you ain't seen neither one of them since.
I know, right? They're gone.
They're gone.
They're not
just
in
gone.
media anymore. It's like poof. But Jim Acosta is, and he went to CPAC, and let's have some fun with that. This is a reporter from the Federalist, I believe. I don't know. We'll see. He'll tell you.
Won the election.
Hey, Jim, I'm Dave Marcus from the Federalist. When are you guys going to start covering Cuomo? When are you guys going to start covering Cuomo? No, I'm asking you a serious question. No, you don't. No, you don't. No, you don't. No, you don't. He killed 10,000 people, and he's accused of sexual assault. And you guys want to talk about Ted Cruz? So what? No. When are you going to start covering Cuomo?
We can do it this way, maybe. Just because he's rude, I'll be rude. So let me just finish this interview, and then I'll talk to you, okay? If you don't
No,
mind. What do you mean no?
I mean no.
Well then, excuse me. I have an interview.
Yeah, what are you going to box me out? You're not tall enough. When are you going to start covering it, Jim?
So
When's CNN going to deal with Cuomo?
covering it. I don't
No,
know.
you're not. No, you're not. You're not.
Well,
You're not.
okay. We agree to disagree.
No, we don't agree to disagree. You're not covering Cuomo.
I'm sorry, but
What do you think about what do you think about it? What do you have to say about Cuomo?
I'm here to do a job right now.
Oh.
To talk to you.
You have plenty to say about Trump. Nothing to say about Cuomo?
I'm here to do a job.
What do you have to say about Cuomo? Nothing? Nothing, right? You have nothing to say about Andrew Cuomo. The Emperor of New York, and you have nothing to say. Okay, then we see it. Then we see it.
At least you don't rat on your friends.
Then we see it. Yeah, that's good.
So I guess the lesson for me, ladies and gentlemen, is stop being so nice with these idiots. That's how you get them right there. Because that'll get picked up.
Friends, man.
Right. But that's how you got to deal with these people. I mean, it's clear. Especially with the way the GOP has betrayed us. It's us, man. It's the people inside to get inside the Beltway are not our friends. There's a couple of them, but it's not significant enough to mean anything at this point. Now it can be, but we got to get rid of these. Kasich, man, my goodness. How is that guy invited anywhere? You know, why would anybody in a Republican...
CNN, right?
Yeah, I guess.
He's getting paid, right?
That's true.
I don't see him anywhere else.
You got a point. But why would anybody invite Mike Pence to CPAC? Why would you do that? What possible good could that have? That is as good as inviting Mitch McConnell there. It's clear these people are not part of the movement that CPAC says they represent. I still don't trust Matt Schlapp, to be honest with you.
Right. Well, if you saw on the near the end, he was looking for a pardon for someone and was getting paid $500,000,
$650,000.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he's out there.
I can't remember who it was, but
I can't either. But he was out there when they introduced the keynote speaker of the opening day, Governor DeSantis. He wouldn't get off the stage, man. I'm like, why are you still on the stage? Get on. That's why I didn't play the clip. It was too long.
They need to, like, I was watching Trump Jr.'s little thing, and he was said something about CPAC, and he goes, shouldn't we call this thing TPAC?
Oh, I like that.
And he had the T, like timeout. He did the symbol. He says, shouldn't we be calling this TPAC? Which is, sort of leaning towards where I'm going. You shouldn't have any association with the establishment Republicans, right? If they've disappointed the conservative folks or the people that voted for President Trump, who, folks, wake up, he wasn't a conservative, he was a centrist, right? But he's common sense. That's how far left the Republicans have moved. If they consider a centrist far right, we got to wake up. You can't go by, let's say, on the Democrat side or the African American side, where we play clips of Malcolm X talking to the people and saying, if you keep voting, you vote for these people and you put them up on the top and they put you at the bottom, you keep voting them in, whose fault is that? Well, the same thing applies to conservatives. If you keep voting in the Mitch McConnells, the Kinsingers, the Mitt Romneys, and you're surprised you get what we get right now, you have to make a break. And that's why I think when Trump Jr. said, hey, should we call this TPAC? That's like making a break. The establishment needs to go by the wayside. The good thing is a lot of them have left. A lot of them are not seeking another term. There's a few Shelby's going. There's a couple others that voted against or voted for the Burr, I think, in North Carolina. And there's another one that voted for the impeachment that's not seeking re-election. Good riddance to them. Find Constitution-loving Republicans, and maybe you can rebuild that party. Being an independent, I think it's kind of hard, but if you're going to do it, you better start in 2022, which is the election coming up in between, right? The midterm. That's when you need to start it. You can't wait until 2024 and hope that you get Trump back in office. So, that's just coming from me. I'm not a Republican registered per se, but
you're a hell of a co-host, just the same.
I want the same things that the listeners and you want. Definitely, I want our country back.
That's all. I mean, all I want is justice. I want to see criminals go to prison, and I want to see it on national television in prime time. And I want the FBI agents to get the worst punishment. And I want the school teachers unions to get punished. And I want the media, the lying media, to be punished. Not for exercising their First Amendment rights, for lying and for calling fire in a theater I want them arrested and tried. If they're found innocent, fine. But I want a real judge and a real jury. And I want real punishment. You know, and it's building up since Bill Clinton for me. I mean, I watched Bill Clinton with the communist Chinese. Remember that? Remember selling the Lincoln bedroom? I have a book out there that names names. I can't remember the guy's name now. But that was how many years ago? And they're still walking around. Yeah, they murdered people.
Selling the Lincoln bedroom was the least of it. Wasn't there the gyroscope guidance?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's
Secretary Brown, deader than hell, and the Chinese communists now have missiles that go where they tell them to go. And they never had that before the Clintons.
That clip you just played with the Federal reporter challenging Acosta and CNN, basically challenging Acosta, and CNN, because of their lack of coverage or scrutiny on a big story. I mean, during the election, it was Hunter Biden and all that. Nobody had shit about that.
You're telling me their heads shouldn't roll? Their heads should roll. Anybody involved with any of these networks should have capital crimes trials. I mean, think of all the people that have died because of these people.
And
collectively,
we talked about it when it was happening. We talked about it, but now that Biden is in there, all of a sudden you do have some media turning the tables and highlighting what Cuomo did, putting pressure on him, but they're not getting to the point where they're demanding his head like they demanded Trump's head on a platter every day since he got elected. Now it's like, well, you know, Cuomo said, well, they were going to die anyways. What does it matter if they died in this place or in that nursing home? You know, it's like, are you that arrogant? And obviously he is. But he also knows that the CNNs of the world are not going to be at his door. They're not going to have the people in Congress asking folks to be knocking at the governor's mansion to burn it down if he's not held to account for those lives lost, right? The meme I saw earlier this week was Governor Cuomo killed more folks in New York than were killed in 9/11.
And they're mad, too. These people are pissed off, Democrats included. And whether or not he'll pay the price, we'll have to wait and see.
But that's something to think about. And, you know, we have a whole generation that weren't even alive in 9/11. But, you know, us 39-plus-year-old folks, you know, we know it. And it's still, you know, you think about that. I have a pregnant pause of that day because it shocked me so heavily. I saw the events happen, and I'm like, holy moly, how this happened in this country.
I know, especially the collapse, once the buildings collapsed.
Or the multiple attacks. I mean, I could see the first one, and then it's like, wait a minute, here, and then it's like, wait a minute, where did our response go? Because, you know, we were taught that couldn't happen, and there it was happening in real time.
Damn cell phones didn't even work, man. At least not here, not in Pittsburgh.
No, they only.
I tried to call my wife, and it didn't work, man.
They only worked on the plane, that Let's Roll plane. The cell phones worked like a big dog then, huh?
Yeah, I don't think those are cell phones though. Those were the ones that they had, but they used those earphones. The ones that used to be on the bottom. Anyway,
for once they had clear reception and they had documentation of everything. Yeah, right.
Ladies and gentlemen, you are listening to Cold War Radio on a Friday night. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
One America News Network, your leading source for the latest breaking national and international news. With nearly 4 times as many headlines as the other networks. Straight news, no speculation, no opinion, just the facts. Complete coverage 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. One America News Network, your source for credible news.
representative republic, not a democracy. Cold War Radio celebrates and defends this Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern. I'm Hutch Bailey Jr., your host. Ward, Sal, and Jack are my wingmen, and your live calls let it all make sense. Join us, Cold War Radio, live on Spreaker and forever on all podcast platforms.
The very First Amendment in the Constitution of the United States of America gives us the freedom to express our opinions and ideas in many ways. Speech can be weak, speech can be strong. Speech can be words, speech can be song. Speech can breed love, speech can breed hate. Speech can be poor, speech can be great. There are so many things that speech can be, but above all else, speech must be free. This message is brought to you by the NAB Education Foundation, the Broadcast Education Association, McCormick Foundation, and this station.
The President of the United States takes pleasure in presenting the Silver Star Medal to William Charles Tomlin III, Sergeant First Class United States Army, for conspicuous gallantry and intrepidity in action against the enemy while serving with Headquarters and Headquarters Company, 1st Battalion, 508th Parachute Infantry Regiment, 82nd Airborne Division during combat operations in support of Operation Enduring Freedom on 9 April 2007 in Afghanistan. On that date, Sergeant First Class Tomlin, distinguishing himself through acts of gallantry and intrepidity at the risk of his life in action against an enemy force which outnumbered his own by 6-1. Near the town of Chakak, Helmand, Afghanistan, Sergeant First Class Tomlin was acting as the scout platoon leader on the 7th day of intense independent combat operations during Operation Furious Pursuit, when the scout platoon encountered an enemy force who quickly attempted to envelop them by maneuver and combined arms operations, including mortars, accurate RPG fire, heavy weapons, and AK-47s in a pitched battle that lasted 6 hours. During the engagement, Sergeant First Class Tomlin personally led several dismounted counterattacks against enemy forces that had closed to within 30 meters of his position. He simultaneously coordinated the effects of heavy mortars within 50 meters of his position, heavy weapons, and close air support within 150 meters of friendly troops. By using expert call-for-fire techniques, hand grenades, and his own personal weapon, he was able to not only defend his position, but later organize the reinforcements of 4 separate units to destroy between 30 and 50 soldiers and kill 2 key Taliban leaders in the Sanjin area. Sergeant First Class Tomlin's personal example and bravery under fire was the key component to turning a dire situation into a complete victory for the task force on this day. His exceptional bravery, example to his soldiers in the face of a dedicated Taliban force, and personal leadership has set the example for the 82nd Airborne Division and is in keeping with the highest tradition of military service. Hometown, Angier, North Carolina. Sergeant First Class Tomlin, job well done, and God bless America.
How dare you! How dare you! How dare you continue to look away! People are suffering. People are dying. Entire ecosystems are collapsing. We are in the beginning of a mass extinction, and all you can talk about is money and fairy tales of eternal economic growth. How dare you!
And now, ladies and gentlemen, live from Pittsburgh Studio Number 1, it's Cold War Radio. Here's your host, Hutch Bailey Jr.
All right, we're back, ladies and gentlemen. Looking for a frequency out there for someone in the chat room.
What's the frequency, Kenneth?
136.174. And it's basically Pinellas County government is part of it. There's a bunch of other things going on there, but just probably a business type, government type VHF frequency. Very common, 136 megahertz. Anyway, let's go to the phones because we've got customers there. Let's welcome Rico to the program from the hotbed of Kentucky. What's going on, Rico?
Rico.
Hey, it's Friday, man, and I'm drinking scotch. I mean, there's nothing better than that.
There you go.
Other than drinking bourbon. Drinking bourbon's better.
There you go. I agree.
I will admit.
By the way.
Hey, I'd like to tell you
one scotch.
One of my. Yeah.
Go ahead.
I feel like I'm interrupting. Go ahead.
No, you're not. You're not interrupting. We just all talk here. It's. I'm
just going to throw something random at you.
All right.
Are you okay with that?
As long as I don't have to duck.
My favorite plane is a bomber.
Okay.
My favorite plane of all time is the B-17 bomber.
Okay.
The Flying Fortress.
Super Flying Fortress. I got a couple of them.
Favorite?
I got a couple. The A-10 Warthog is one of my favorite.
Yeah,
I have several.
one.
I'm not a real big.
Another beast.
Another one that is was an enemy, but was a terrifying machine was the Stuka.
Yes.
In the Luftwaffe.
The one with the bent wings. Yeah.
Yeah, and it made.
Call on it, leave it up. It echoes into the.
Damn. Okay, when you call, ladies and gentlemen, if you call up, anything you say, we can all hear you. So please try to mute your microphones. I caught that one, but it was everybody heard it. They used to whistle when they would come down in their dive, Rico.
Stuka dive bomber, right?
Yeah,
they did.
Yeah, they.
Yeah, I remember building, models of the 109
Messerschmitt.
and the Stuka. Yeah, Messerschmitt and the Stuka. Man, the Stuka had a front pilot and a back gunner, and it was I guess they had different kind of fighters and stuff like that. I guess it was more of a heavy fighter or something like that.
I know if you go online or on YouTube and you search for Stuka scene in what was the name of the movies with the guy with the come on now, Silence of the Lambs, those movies. There's a Stuka scene in one of those movies. I forget which one it is, but boy, man, there's a Russian tanker that rolls into a farmhouse, into a homestead, and they're gonna they're trying to get supplies, and a Stuka comes down against this tank. It's just an amazing scene. There's a couple scenes. There's one like that with the tank against the Stuka. Then there's another one where the communists, like the Democrat Party here, the communists, the Russians, they had political officers. And Nikita Khrushchev, that's what he was. And they're basically behind the infantry with pistols. And anybody who doesn't do what they're supposed to do gets shot by their own guy. And they were all crossing the channel in these troop boats, really. They weren't ships. There was maybe 50 guys in every boat. And here come the Stukas, and guys are bailing off the boats, and as soon as they bailed off the boats, the Soviet political officers leaned over the side and started killing them in the water. But just some...
Yeah, that sounds like... There's a movie called Enemy at the Gates from the early 2000s.
I saw that too.
In the beginning.
I saw that one too.
Yeah, it was pretty amazing.
It was.
That's an amazing movie too. It was pretty intense.
I didn't like it that much. It was kind of dark for me. You know what I mean? But
I liked it. That's the reason why I liked it, because it was dark.
It was. I saw that with my son.
At the end when they put the kid up, and that was a little too much for me, but it did make the movie, what it is, So, I agree that we should have Nuremberg style trials for these Democrats. I agree with that. I think they need to go on trial because they are absolutely against this country. They are absolutely committing treason every aspect of the way, every step of the way, everything that they do.
I want to smoke the Romneys out too, man. I want to smoke the Romneys out, the McCains out. They're worse than the Democrats, in my opinion.
I agree with you too, but I'm focusing on the Democrats right now because I'm thinking about them. I don't think about Republicans that much, but you're right. The Romneys, even the Mitch McConnells, and even the Lindsey Grahams need to be looked at as well.
Let me run something past you here, right? You want to win, right? You want success. You said it early. We want justice. Yes. We want fairness. We want the rule of law. Well, the only way we're going to get there is if we have a team that's worthy of fighting. And we already know that the Democrats are they're Marxists. Some of them are Marxists. Other ones are just failures. They're just along for the ride because they can't earn a living any other way. There's a lot of them like that. Hank Johnson comes to mind. Al Green comes to mind. Maxine Waters comes to mind. There's a lot of them out there that are they're brain dead.
Mm-hmm.
But they're in the right spot and they have the right DNA, so they get a job. And they never leave the job. But we know who they are. But how can we fight against them, Rico, when we have Mitch McConnell on our side?
I think there's a couple things that we need to realize. You know, we talked about the whole thing about war and stuff like that, but before that ever happens, we have to see what happens in 2022. All right, let's see what happens.
I agree.
Let's see what happens in 2022, because I think there are a lot more pissed off Democratic civilians out there.
God, I hope
than
so.
You think.
I don't.
You know,
I don't
because
have
they're seeing what's going on. They're seeing what's going on. They're losing jobs too. You know, the only people that don't really care about things like that are the people that are just pissed off at the world because they want to be that self-proclaimed victim, like the Democrats want them to be.
A large portion of the Democrat infrastructure is rich, mega rich white people, and it doesn't matter what happens to the economy to them.
Yeah, I'm starting to see there is some progress with election integrity in some of the states right now.
New Hampshire,
Arizona, Georgia. Some of that's coming around now. Is it soft right now? Still, yeah, it's still soft, but they will harden up because they got 2 to 4 years to deal with that.
I hope so.
Once that's taken care of, and everybody from the right side and everybody who was a Democrat who voted for Trump, and there were lots of them, feel comfortable, we will vote in droves, and it's going to be driven. It's probably going to be driven by the the whole MAGA approach to things.
Well, I know the same way that the leftists are pushing Harris and Biden and Obama and Jarrett, we better damn sure push our leadership, because we have to get this to where it systemically cannot happen again.
Once we get to the point where we got the right people in the right places and we got the majority, hopefully in the House and the Senate, it doesn't really matter what happens with what's happened in the White House in 2 to 4 years. If we take the House and the Senate, there needs to be something done about what is going on, and we have to have the balls, and I mean mega balls, to go, you know what, we're going to put you on a Senate trial, and we're going to tell the world what you did, and that's the kind of balls that we need to have in 2 to 4 years.
See, I don't think the Senate's not the place to do that. The Department of Justice is the place to do that. The Department of Justice
is falling apart,
but we have to fix that. Without fixing the Department of Justice, nothing else matters. Nothing else. And look around. Look at the people that are walking free right now that we know. I mean, we have video on Hunter Biden, man. We have testimony that Joe Biden's daughter took showers with him, inappropriate showers. Who knows what really happened in that house? You know, Hunter's not allowed around his own sister or niece or whoever that was. But anyway, Rico, wrap things up and do it to Jack, with Jack. Got to hear his voice again.
Okay, Jack, say something to me. Ask a question, and I'll answer it.
Hutch took my plane, the A-10, so I had to dig deep, and I got the AC-130.
Oh, okay. Puff.
A.K.A. Spooky.
They're
Puff,
spooky.
the Magic Dragon. Ralph in the chat room said it's up to the G or J version. I didn't know it was still existing. I remember it from the Vietnam era.
It's still there.
You know,
And the thing that impressed me the most about that plane is the fricker thing had the same same gun as the main gun on an M60A3 in the tail. Well, you know, toward the tail. A freaking 105 millimeter cannon. A tank main gun in the tail section of a prop plane. That's a badass plane.
You don't want to be on the targeting end.
Hell no. That thing got four Briggs and Strattons. Continue.
Well, I'm on my 25th mission right now, so you guys need to kick me out.
All right. Thanks, Rico. Always appreciate it, man.
We'll talk to you guys later.
You're
Later,
out of
buddy.
here. All right. Let's go, as soon as things shift around, let's go to Sean from California. What's going on? Thank you for the pictures. I don't know if I told you that yesterday or not. But Sean sent me a bunch of pictures of his HO operation. You're a lucky guy. You got the whole garage to yourself, don't you?
Not really. No, not really.
Pretty nice area, though. But anyway, go ahead.
Well, the reason I asked that question about the radio frequency is because I got this UV-5R Bofang radio, and I've been kind of fiddling around with it. And then someone asked me on an Amazon review, hey, does this thing have the 1.36.17R4 whatever? And I'm like, I don't know. I have no idea. And I tried it, and it didn't work. It only gave me 175 at the end. So I'm like, oh,
that happens. Don't worry about that. Don't worry. The thing about, guaranteed it's FM. All right? If it's VHF, there's not any, except for ham radio operators, there's not a lot of AM up there. Not even with ham radio operators. So you've got a really wide band signal. So if it's off a couple kilohertz, don't worry about that. You get within 5 or 10 and it'll pick it up.
Well, this is my last line of communication. If everything else goes down, this is my only way to contact Rocky.
You can talk on it?
Oh, yeah, you can definitely talk on this thing. I mean, it's got all the functions that you would ever need.
What is it?
Crap.
FRS radio?
Bofang. Bofang. It's one of those good radios, apparently. Way better than Motorola.
Oh, that's that cheap ass ham radio. Yeah, okay. A little small handheld.
Yeah.
It's got a lot of features.
TV.
It's got a lot of features, yeah. Yeah, I might get one of those.
Get two. They're really good with a throat mic if you put one on. You know, those old Special Forces throat mics. They're really good. I got one.
That's what American tankers used to use in World War II.
Ooh,
throat mic.
Yeah.
Well, I do have another update. With this talk about cleaning up elections, the state of California, that's an entirely different beast altogether because we got ballot harvesting, that's one. Absentee ballot, that's another. It's fraudulently out of control here. In-person voting, just all kinds of really different methods of voting here. And the problem with the whole system is, I don't think it's really going to matter if we fix it because there's just too many corrupt officials trying to, keep it rigged the way it is right now. So do I have faith in the state of California fixing its election system anytime soon? No.
No, I don't either. I don't either.
What does this do for the recall effort? That's a little bit touch and go at this point, because what that would do to the recall election is, well, it could throw it to some rhino's favor, or it could throw it to communist Democrats' favor. I honestly wish that I could say that it would be better with a rhino Republican in power, but I don't really like that terminology, and I don't really like a rhino Republican.
Right, but sometimes you gotta grin and bear it, man. I mean, this is something that I understand completely where you're coming from, but I would still rather have a rhino in there than a straight up Gavin Newsom homosexual mafia communist in there. Because that's what he is, true. Man. Ask Harvey Milk. That's what he is.
Well, unfortunately,
and Feinstein too.
Kevin Faulkner's just like Gavin Newsom. There's really no difference.
Well,
he used to be the San Diego mayor.
One of the problems that you guys have is your southern border.
Oh yeah.
I mean, you're not even an American. You're not even an American state anymore. Look at your city councils in your major cities in California. How many white people and black people are on them? Not very many.
Nope.
And you could say whatever you want and call me whatever you want, but these people are communists. They have nothing to do with America. I mean, when you have the L.A. County freaking guy that gets elected to prosecute crimes telling you he's not going to prosecute crimes, does that tell you he's a criminal, or am I stupid? You know, which one is
criminal. It tells me he's the criminal. All for it.
You know, and it's just, it's so counterproductive, and it just, it amazes me in such a short time that we have we've moved forward in a bad way so far that we won't even defend ourselves anymore. I mean, I said it was part of the Marxist revolution of America. How do you get so many, and I hate to use colors, but I mean, what do you want me to say? European immigrants? How do you have so many white people apologizing for themselves? What the hell did I do? What did we do other than the fact of bringing the world to a new plateau that nobody else seemed to be able to do but us?
Hey,
I agree with you.
If you're going to work for the Coca-Cola company, then perhaps you should learn how to not be so white.
I know, man.
I
tried, man. I try to get a tan in the summertime. I mean,
is that a valid
my dad even had that shit you sprayed on yourself and turned your skin orange, man. You remember that?
Oh, Jesus, no.
That's spray
Bronco
tan.
used to sell that stuff.
Yeah, that's probably where he got
spray
it.
Tan, right? Tan in a can.
But it was orange, man. Orange man bad.
Well, I do have one more thing to say before I go. I am looking into a possible creating podcast situation thing now, but it ain't going to be politics. It's just not going to be that, because I already get enough of that here.
Okay, what's it going to be? Trains? Trains?
Oh yeah.
All right. Well, let me know if you need any help.
Train people.
Let me know if you need any help. That's a great genre, man.
I have no idea where
you got
to
a
begin.
guaranteed audience right there.
Oh yeah. I just have no idea where to begin.
Well, you put some things down about what you want to cover. I'll talk to you some other time. Can you send me an email? You need some help.
Okay,
I'll help you for sure. I'll help you for sure. I might even produce your show. Who knows?
Hey, that'd be cool.
All right, Sean. Thanks for calling, man.
Tom, the engineer
Peace out,
on
guys.
the real train. Get him on the show too.
There you go. Get Tom.
Oh yeah, I might have to get him as my co-host.
There you go.
There you go. All right, man. See you, Sean. Thank you.
All right, peace out.
Have a great weekend. All right. Let's see what we got here. Let's go to Mark Meadows. This is a kind of a stunning clip. I'm trying to remember who he's on with. I think it's Fox News. I'm not sure. Mark Meadows, former chief of staff of the President of the United States.
That we're going to look at President Trump's first term as the beginning of the America First movement, as the beginning of making America great, and it's going to be a process, and it's going to be long-standing, and it's going to be ongoing, and it's going to be a daily battle. Make sense?
Well, you're going to see a speech on Sunday that talks about not only the beginning, but what the future may look like. And I'm excited about it. I spoke to President Trump last night for a fairly lengthy conversation where we're talking about America, where it needs to go, continuing the America First agenda. But more importantly than that, how this President Biden has undermined that particular policy within days. And we see it. Listen, we talk about following the science. Joe Biden said he was going to follow the science. Let me tell you what he's doing. He's following the money. You know, he keeps the schools closed. He's letting teachers union dictate it yet. But when it comes to other union jobs, like pipeline jobs, he's eliminating those right away, and he's going against campaign promises. But what we will see on Sunday is we will see the start of planning for the next administration. And I can tell you, the people that are at the top of that list, all of them have Trump as their last name.
You know, I think back, look at, for example, the travel ban that Biden called hysterical xenophobia in January or February and in March of last year, right? And then you think about when really things got bad in late March and New York was caught flat-footed and New Jersey was caught flat. flat-footed. Trump built the hospital, manned the hospitals, converted them to COVID, got all the PPE, all the medicines. The beds remained empty. And then people were dumped, as we now know, in nursing homes by the great Governor Cuomo with his fantastic PowerPoints that weren't so powerful after all. And then we have the vaccine. This is not the Biden vaccine. You guys were distributing 1 million shots a day into people's arms when you left office for weeks and before you left office. Now they're having a hard time picking up the job that you guys already put in place. I think history will be kinder to Donald Trump's travel ban, what he did to build hospitals, and the warp speed vaccine.
Well, without a doubt. I mean, he protected Americans. But isn't it interesting how everybody said, oh, President Trump, when he's out there saying that we're going to have a vaccine in 9 months, we're going to do it in record speed. You know, everybody, including Governor Cuomo and Dr. Fauci, said there's no way that happened. In fact, they were out there doing victory laps to try to take credit for things that he was actually doing. But here's what we do know, is that the president that I had the privilege of working for actually delivered. He continues to deliver on behalf of millions of Americans. So if you're getting a vaccine today, you can thank President Trump because he was the one that put forth that plan.
And you know what? And backing up that money. You know, it's going to be very, very interesting. Where, though, if you look at the Trump presidency and everything the president tried to do, Democrats were taking him to court. I don't see the same thing happening to the Biden campaign, except for there are exceptions like the Attorney General in Texas and some other states. I've got to believe there's got to be some coordinated effort to stop the executive action. Joe Biden said, I'm not a dictator. I got to get the votes, man. Come on, man. And all of a sudden, he's not getting any votes. He's just writing executive order after executive order.
Well, it's coming. I can tell you, I appreciate you mentioning that, because whether it is Attorney General Paxton in Texas or Attorney General Landry in Louisiana or many of the other great Republican attorney generals we have, Stephen Miller at American First Legal is going to actually be working hand in glove with those attorney generals, working with conservative partnership to actually go forward and challenge some of these executive actions as unconstitutional, and certainly they need to be held accountable. And I can tell you that help is on the way. American First Legal is going to be doing exactly what you're talking about, working with attorney generals from across the country.
All right. But looks like you got some sleep in the last month. I don't know. You look a little rested. Look like you even got a little sun. Good to see you.
Jack, being a radio guy, I'm listening to that going, some producer in the back's going, get off, shut up, Meadows, get off here. The music's almost over.
I'm listening to that and I'm going, nah. And at the end, he said Stephen Miller.
Yeah.
And my ears perked up because Stephen Miller is a serious dude, and that's good to hear. At the end,
agree.
He's handling or in partnership with the legal aspect of it. So to me, he's the savant of the Trump administration. You know?
Yeah, he is. He's not afraid to talk about it. Oh man, I hope everybody's all right in Eugene. I just heard something fall, but anyway, you're on the show. Go.
Oh my gosh, it's fine. I'm okay. Nothing serious. Just a cord. No, actually, there's a few things going on. Looking at American Thinker, this was from yesterday, but I thought it was kind of interesting. This was saying, why do they want us all to get vaccinated? And I said, well, vaccine is experimental, and we the people are being herded into a mass drug trial, such as the FDA has never before attempted. In other words, that's the truth. Instead, there's a long, and of course, nobody wants to mention it.
Why would anybody that's, even if you're a senior citizen, I mean, I saw these lines, and I swear, I'm very leery to say this. I'm not going to say it. It looked like something obscene, looking at all these old people with masks shuffling up to this door in this line. You know, and it just, I'm thinking, personally, I'm not getting it. You know
I'm not
I mean?
either, Hutch. No freaking way.
I
no
got
way.
comorbidities, but I don't give a damn. I'm not getting it. Because you know why I'm not getting it? Because I'm not afraid of it.
I'm not either.
COVID-19 is not going to kill me.
No, it's not going to kill me either.
Something might kill me, and they might say it's COVID-19, and if it's time for me to go, it's time for me to go. But until you show me bodies, there's no emergency in my mind. The only emergency is our corrupt-ass government. That's the emergency.
That's an understatement. No kidding. I put the link to the link in there for the whole article, but they're just talking about how nobody wants to admit that it's an experiment and that it's basically another way to bring us closer to communism.
To
compliance.
Also mentioned
that we're getting there pretty damn fast, in my opinion. I'm not going to fall
right.
for it, but I can see it.
Yeah, but a lot of people are falling for it. And
I agree. A lot of them are.
I can't say it enough about the normalization part of the Marxism steps.
Yeah.
When you think this shit is normal, you're lost. You're never going to fight.
Exactly.
Remember at the very instant, right? I mean, we're already conditioned for any kind of weather event. Okay, there's possible power outage. Boom. Go get your milk, bread, and eggs. Right, the most perishable
and toilet paper.
No, toilet paper happened on this.
Oh, right,
and toilet paper was wiped out.
It always
so that
happened
was the
here.
Key.
I mean, it happened here too. It never got wiped out before, but we always used to joke about it.
Yeah, toilet paper was wiped out across. So that was like the indicator. All right, these people are ready for this event. They're ready to be masked.
Good point.
They're ready to take this,
to be used. They're willing to be satisfied with less. That's right in the 4 points, man.
But a vaccine, growing up, being a military family and being in the military, you're heavily vaccinated.
Oh, I've got 50 of
most of the items you get an injection for is actually dead representatives of it, so your body creates an antibody to it if you get the live virus. Everything that I've read, this air quotes vaccine is not injecting a dead or a representative of this virus.
Let's revisit Ward Miller. It's a cold. We don't have any vaccines for the cold.
Coronavirus, right?
Right. There's no vaccine for the common cold. So how is there a vaccine for this? I think this is these big pharma companies ripping the government off as usual. They're not ripping the government off. They're ripping the whole goddamn world off. Not just us, the whole world. Everybody's buying these things. And when I looked at those lines, and it's like these pitiful people. There's no young people in these lines. They're like sheep, man. They're shuffling forward. It's like they've got these elderly people so terrified, but it's not. I mean, when you're 75 years old, there's 10,000 diseases you have to be worried about. Not just this one. What about the real ones? Right. The ones that people die of every single year.
We're from the government, and we are here to help.
We're here to kill you all.
Oh, I know.
And I think maybe maybe shower scenario, heading to the shower thing of people just heading in a certain direction in the past history of the world.
Get on the truck.
Is close to what we're talking about now. Just shut up. Get
on the truck, man. Get on the back of that truck.
If you, that's similar to what's happening right now.
Mm-hmm.
And anyone disagrees or voices it, right, canceled out immediately.
Get off of Twitter.
Exactly. Yeah, no kidding. And switching gears a bit, you were mentioning about the justices earlier, and I was thinking that ACB, Amy Coney Barrett, and Kavanaugh, I'm starting to wonder whether they've join forces with John Roberts and the rest of the liberal side of the Supreme Court.
I'm disillusioned. I don't know. I'm disillusioned. I'm trying to figure out what happened. I don't know.
I'm not sure what happened either. The only one I know who stood up for sure was Thomas, and I think Alito, but the rest of them, I don't know. Even then, with those guys, I'm not sure either.
I got something. Okay. Yeah. All right. So some final comments, Marlene. Believe it or not, we still have people on the line.
Oh, I'm sure you do. I guess finally wanted to bring an update. I mentioned that restaurant on, I think it was Wednesday, in Florence, that
the breakfast one.
The state responded. Yeah, that was the Blue Hen or the Brown Hen. They used to be the Blue Hen.
Okay.
Now there's the second one.
All right.
And the second one I have not been to, but it's down in the Old Town part of Florence, right along the river. And the Firehouse Restaurant and Lounge, I guess they got fined about the same amount of money for doing the same thing, basically telling the state to screw themselves.
You know what Oregon reminds me
I love it. I totally love it.
The thing I expect, and I don't know anything about Oregon. I've never been there. I've been to Washington a few times, and California, but never Oregon. Utah too. But that looks like the kind of place where the people in the country get a case of the ass and come to the city and straighten shit out. It just seems like that.
Mm-hmm.
That's the kind of place that, and I've seen your protests where the loggers and the farmers come in with their equipment into Portland.
Oh yeah, and speaking of protesting their state senate, they walked out of the chamber.
Okay,
because they're protesting the lockdown.
Well, we have to. I mean, it's the only way. Right?
Exactly.
The only way we're going to get out of this is when businesses say, screw these masks.
Right.
When government
and not just
officials.
all of them have to say.
Yeah.
A larger amount need to say, screw these masks. We're gonna operate as normal.
We need American churches is what we need. We need to have somebody on Sunday
I agree.
that talks to people that go there and fires them up, and like we used to have. But the communists are good, man. They killed our churches 20 years ago.
They killed the churches, and of course, I think before they killed the churches, in my mind, it's just me. I think the churches have kind of started to go downhill.
Oh yeah. As soon as you can thank Lyndon Baines Johnson for that, and his Great Society. As soon as the churches figured out, as soon as the elders and the vestry figured out that the government was paying what they used to pay, they were like, "Hey, be quiet, man. Just let them do that.
Yeah,
let's get these guys elected. We can spend this money on ourselves." That's what happened. You know that's what happened.
Oh, I know it is. Yeah, and then you go to these larger churches, especially out here. I don't know if you guys have large churches in Pittsburgh. No. I'm sure you do.
Not like
you go there, and it's just like
we got big churches, but nothing like those mega churches. They're not.
No, like these aren't mega churches, but they're still pretty big for out here. And you go there, and it's like going to a self-help seminar.
Oh no, I know. Hey, there was a Black Lives Matter banner in front of my church. The church that I grew up in.
Something about that, yeah.
And guess what else I saw today? Today I was coming across the Monongahela River on a Liberty Bridge, and there's a big billboard up there on a prominent spot, and it's got this 60-year-old lady up there wearing ecumenical garb, wearing religious garb for ecumenical ministers administering communion, and it says end male supremacy in the Catholic Church.
How dare you?
And I'm like, you got to be kidding me, man.
That is insane. That's horrid.
This is what we're worried about, man. You guys are screwing little boys, and you're worried about. I mean, come on, man.
I know.
Let's try to regroup first. You trying to say every man is bad now here, or what? I don't know.
Oh, no kidding.
Final comments, Marlene.
Okay, I guess the other
give
him
to Jack. Give him to Jack.
Okay. All right, Jack. You remember this? We're about the same age. You remember the whole thing with the Clintons? How they were renting out the Lincoln bedroom and selling all that crap to the Chinese? I remember seeing the videos on TV.
Right.
I was just laughing at it, going, "Oh God!" And now it's worse. Of course, they've never been prosecuted. They just, go on their merry little way. And like I was saying earlier, I want to see some prosecutions. I want to see them convicted, and I want to see some perp walks. And if they have to go to the gallows, let's bring those back too.
Well, to be honest, I don't
That's
think...
a little out there, but hey.
Well,
they're gonna die first. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, man, Jack.
It's a desire that many of us in the United States wants or would desire for that. But, in the meantime, begging for justice for against them for what they did to this country, we're losing the country. It's slipping away from us.
We are losing it.
It's slipping away from us just the same. I mean, I hear a little bit about, Obama needs to be, slammed someplace. You could put plenty of folks in both parties that are currently still serving in Congress in that boat. And yet, the train keeps rolling. My winner this week is the military-industrial complex for story that we pushed earlier, right? Biden's administration, even though Kamala Harris wasn't informed of it, and I don't think Joe was either. He might have been, having breakfast with corn pop, but they bombed Syria to open the way so they can go cover some oil fields in Syria. It's business is back for the military-industrial complex.
Big time.
The media's not letting us know about it, but we know. We pay attention.
And we're the media, too. I mean, let's get real. Marlene, thanks for calling. Always appreciate you. Have a great weekend.
Oh, you're welcome.
And Jack, go ahead with your loser, man. Might as well get right on that.
Yeah. And my loser, well, we haven't hit this one yet, but I'll just...
You brought it up.
We haven't. I know we're going to cover
you brought
this.
the winners and losers up. I wasn't ready
yet.
I'm
just saying.
I know.
Yeah, my loser. I thought it was in the middle of the show, and we're nearing the end.
I know. I blew it, but I got the jihad report queued up. Go ahead.
Hey, that's fine too. We got plenty to cover.
Right,
I didn't know hey.
Let's do that first.
You were the one that wanted to restrict Friday's show to 2 hours. So let's do this.
That's so I don't beat up callers, man. I mean, it was getting too late. Ladies and gentlemen, your weekly jihad report. 45 jihad attacks, 190 killed, 135 injured. That is a ratio, Jack, that they're getting more fatalistic here. They're getting to where they kill more people than they injure, and that's not a good sign. One suicide blast, all occurring in 11 countries. The Religion of Peace atrocity of the week out of Mogadishu, Somalia, which is where Minnesota Attorney General Keith Ellison has made a majority population in District 1 of Minneapolis in Minnesota, Somalian, and Ilhan Omar hails from there as well. From Mogadishu, Somalia, 3 mothers were shot to death, 2 of them pregnant. Other recent and Ilhan Omar is in charge of safety for women in Minnesota, I think. But other recent misunderstandings of Islam. On the 25th in Afghanistan, fundamentalists stormed the home of a journalist and murder 3 family members. On the 24th in Nigeria, children playing soccer are among 10 innocent laid out by Boko Haram rockets. On the 23rd, in the DRC, the Democratic Republic of the Congo, ADF Islamists burn homes and kill 11 residents. On the 22nd, in Pakistan, 4 women who trained others in female empowerment, kind of reminds you of Ilhan Omar again, are brutally gunned down. On the 21st, in Niger, Islamic terrorists make quick work of 7 poll workers. And finally, on the 20th in Yemen, a child loses to an Ansar Allah bombing. The Religion of Pieces, ladies and gentlemen. 1 or 30 bodies at a time.
Allahu Akbar, Allah.
right, Jack, that never ends. But back to the winners and losers. You're on track, sir.
Yeah, my loser. Let me just cover this right now. Investigators are probing whether the kidnapping of Lady Gaga's bulldogs, I thought it was poodles from the news, but
no, they're bulldogs,
was politically motivated because she sang at President Joe's inauguration. FBI officials specialized in kidnapping and ransom cases are working with the Los Angeles PD, the Sun learned Tuesday. That is my loser, folks. My loser is the FBI.
Excellent loser. That was actually a story of the show.
Huh?
That was actually a story. Investigators are probing. You read it off perfectly. I mean, that's unbelievable that the FBI is doing this. They're a clown show. And that's what I said earlier.
The Biden family selling the United States out for, Chinese and Ukrainian.
Chinese agents that would kill these FBI's families in a heartbeat.
Right.
That's the thing. It's like, is money, are you people that immoral that money does that much for you? Do you realize that money can only go so far, man? I mean, I don't know if you've ever had any money, but if you got money, it's not the answer to everything. No. I've had money, and it's not the answer to everything. It doesn't make you happy all the time.
What's that? You got 99 problems, and then
right.
You add money to it, you got 99 more.
Right. I mean, it's these people, they sell their... How do you go to sleep at night, man? I just don't know.
Yeah, but how? I mean, Lady Gaga's dogs are stolen.
Exactly.
And she got a ransom.
And there's an FBI agent that knows what's going on because none of them are stupid.
All of a sudden, it
and he gets put on that
could
case.
Be political, right? Wait a minute. Was it political that Bruce Springsteen sang for Joe Biden during the whatever celebration it was? Because that was a condition of dropping a DUI thing on a park police deal where he was.
Man. You watch these kind of things and it just, listen, don't let it demoralize you that much. Don't fall into the trap, folks. Stay upbeat. Find something that you like to do and do it. Stay upbeat. Turn the damn television off. Don't participate. I'm serious. I'm dead serious. You got to be careful.
Is getting ready to bust out, and it's time to get that boat de-winterized.
Exactly.
Get it ready to go out there and sail, go fishing, enjoy it.
All right, my loser tonight this week is Amazon Prime, who has stopped streaming Clarence Thomas documentary during Black History Month. You talk about a racist company. A racist company that wants to keep black people stupid, keep black people selling drugs and junkies and pimps. And there's the most outstanding Supreme Court justice that sits on the Supreme Court in America today. And he is a mature black man, and they take his damn documentary down. Amazon Prime should be banned from American sales. That is something that is unacceptable to me. I mean, there is a man that could inspire millions of Americans, but they're keeping it down so it doesn't get exposed. It makes me ill. My winner for the week, Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene. Her Democrat neighbor, Representative Marie Newman, our neighbor, she tweeted, our neighbor at Rep MTG tried to block the Equality Act. You know what the Equality Act was? Was to make it where girls could compete in sports against other girls, not guys that thought they were girls, like Pennsylvania's trans-testicle health clown that Rand Paul put in check today or yesterday. She tried to block the Equality Act because she believes prohibiting discrimination against trans-testicle Americans is disgusting, immoral, and evil. Thought we'd put up our transgender flag so she can look at it every time she opens her door, Representative Newman wrote, adding, the winking and trans flag emojis. In response, the firebrand Republican and winner of this week's Cold War Radio Winner of the Week, Republican, had a sign made that says, and it's a big sign too, Jack, and it says, there are two genders, male and female, and trust the science. And then posted a video of herself hanging it, mocking Newman's ridiculous video.
Trust the science.
Please do, because nobody else is.
That's another throw in the face, right?
And that's what we need to do. This is how we win, folks. This is what the American public reacts to. Figure it out. Every time our poll numbers go down, look at what they go down for. They go down for some stupid shit, orange man bad. So let's do some stupid stuff ourselves, right?
Yeah, if you think about it, I think that bill that they're discussing, the Equality Act, is actually targeting children.
It is.
Children. Yeah. Before they're old enough to make their own decisions, they want the adults to make the decisions for them, right? To include gender changing surgeries. So, you know.
And puberty blocking. Rand Paul is a freaking hero. That clown show that Pennsylvania, the slave state, put up to Washington that Biden picked. You know, he's a trans. I think, well, let's not go there, but they got some weird shit going on in that family, man. I don't know exactly what, but Ken, King George, you're up next. What's going on, brother?
Hey, okay, so I missed hey, bro, I missed the first hour of your show because I was talking to my buddy that actually, I think he went to Harrisburg Area Community College with Levine.
Oh yeah, with Rich.
Oh yeah, and I still haven't got all the details out of that, but yeah, this guy used to work for Hershey, was offered a better paying job down in North Carolina.
Hershey, I could do a lot. I could do a lot with that, but I'm not going to. Go ahead.
But yeah, my buddy Sean, I've known this guy since 7th grade in high school. We both had the same education in Central Pennsylvania, and we both pretty much, politically think the same way. But now he's living in North Carolina.
Those long pauses don't work on a radio show, brother. Come on, bring it.
I know. But I ended up spending maybe an hour, talking to him, and we were talking about all kinds of crazy stuff, like Sean would be, or Duke would be interested in, because my buddy and I used to, we used to build models and all this other stuff. And, I sent him this thing where some guy who's very more talented than I am created some sort of display where there's an F-14 over top of a big, what is it, 28?
21, maybe.
Basically 21. The Top Gun thing. And he used, it was a cool display.
I still think one of the coolest movies I ever saw was An Officer and a Gentleman. I think that was good. And Top Gun. I mean, both of those. I know they're old from the 80s and whatnot, but man, they were they fired me up back in the day.
They fired
but they were
you.
great. But they were great. But they were great recruiting tools.
Right.
Same thing as the NFL using a red, white, and blue banner, and they're playing the national anthem before every game, and they do the flyovers, and it was a recruiting tool. They took part of the Department of Defense funding.
Oh yeah.
To
No, you're right. And I was in for several years at the end of my career, my last stop in the military. I was in the biggest command in Western Pennsylvania. We commanded troops in 13 states, and the Steelers and the Pirates and the Penguins out of Pittsburgh used to always come to us, and guys could go to damn near every game for free, man. They just had to show up in their uniform, and hold a flag or something. They had them big giant flags that covered a whole football field or whatever, whatever they were doing.
Right. I mean, even when I was stationed as a student on the sub base, we had a couple guys that were big Yankees fans. Whatever, hey, I want to re-enlist. So in between schools, they'd throw you into some sort of odd job, and one of my little odd jobs, besides buffing and waxing floors, I got to work with the career counselor, which I don't even know if that rate still exists or that job.
No, but the rest of the guys in your squad were like, "Damn, where's Ken at, man? He's out there shamming with that guy again. We're in here trying to clean these damn floors, and he's out there messing with this counselor, man. Come on, Ken."
Okay, so hey, when you graduated at the top of your class,
Oh, all right.
Privilege.
Oh, okay, now he's the guy.
Must have been my Coca-Cola privilege.
All right. Well, sit back and listen to this. I want you to listen to Matt Gaetz at CPAC and tell me what you think.
Representative Matt Gaetz is with me now of the great state of Florida. And Congressman, you're going to be talking later today, and your hot topic is one that has the whole nation speaking right now, big tech and quieting voices. Give us a preview.
Well, we have a number of decision points as a Republican movement. They're being ripened here at CPAC. You heard DeRoy Murdoch talk about the need to focus on the future of election integrity, and I am talking about the future of the flow of information. Access to the digital world is everything in our lives, and if some Silicon Valley woke-topians can be the hall monitors of our speech and discussion, if they can deplatform those who have uncomfortable or different ideas, we'll be a diminished nation as a consequence. So I'm going to give a robust defense of the America First movement of President Trump, and I'm going to work to vindicate the values that undergird the United States Constitution by standing up for a culture of free speech.
I just want to point something out, and it is the flow of hashtags and what's trending right now, CPAC 2021. I'm curious, what do the social media giants think if they are quieting voices when you get the kind of movement on social media that you have with this very conference, just as an example?
Well, social media executives in Silicon Valley have actually addressed that point. They've said that populist content spreads to a greater degree on social media. It earns more reach because populism is popular and people like that content. And so they take extra steps to try to diminish the reach of populist content because they want to be the arbiters of truth. And that's really the problem. Jim Jordan, Mark Meadows, myself, we were shadow banned along with Devin Nunes from Twitter when we were telling the truth about the Russia hoax, and it's just one example of these folks trying to kind of be judge, jury, and executioner all at once.
Of course, former President Trump will take the stage there on Sunday for his first public speech since he left office, and Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell has been critical of the former president since January 6th. We all know that. But today, a shift. He now says he could put those differences aside. Let's watch, and Congressman Gaetz will get your reaction.
Should the former president be speaking at CPAC this weekend?
I don't have any advice to give the former president about where he should speak or what he should say.
Okay. Is there a civil war in the GOP currently?
No. I think if you're looking at it for a real civil war, look at the Democrats in the House. The progressives making it extremely difficult for Speaker Pelosi to operate, given the narrow margin she has overall in the House.
If the president was the party's nominee, would you support him?
The nominee of the party? Absolutely.
Congressman Gates, your reaction. There was actually a lot to unpack there.
Undoubtedly, and it dovetails with what Mitch McConnell has said previously about his own candidate recruitment process in the Senate, that all that matters to him is electability. And that's troubling to me. I think we should actually stand for stuff. I think we should back candidates who share a common value system, because if all we care about is winning elections, then we don't have the ability to actually govern around a principle, around an ideology. And that's what President Trump provided for us. Here's the truth, Harris. If a lot of these Washington-based so-called Republican leaders took the stage today, they'd get booed off the stage in Florida. Like, do you think that this crowd behind me would cheer Mitch McConnell or Liz Cheney? They wouldn't. You know, those folks would need to pack the place with their own staffers just to get an applause. And so I think that there is a divide between the energy in the Republican movement and the conservative movement and the leadership. And I plan to be here for all of the great patriots who want to rally around the America First agenda and hopefully reelect President Trump in 2024.
It's so interesting what you say. You describe it as a divide in the energy. And, you know, Democrats describe it as the way perhaps they see it as more of a civil war. But what you're saying is there is a divide, and now you're looking for ways to bring that together around actual policy and things that matter. It will be fascinating to see you speak and the President of the United States, formerly number 45. Good to see you, Congressman. Thank you.
Thank you, Harris.
You know, now one of the things, Jack, that I would like to see, I would like to see Matt Gaetz and some of these other geniuses that are trying to, you know, I mean, they're doing a good job. They are. You got to give them credit. But, you know, they're not military types, and they're not strategists and things like that. I mean, why would everybody continue to go on Fox News? Jack, I ask you that. And I know that, all right, for right now, maybe they have the most. I don't think they have the most viewers, but I mean, because who watches them? Do you watch them? I don't watch them.
I don't watch any.
I mean, why don't you go on OANN or Newsmax or go on podcasts? Stop going on Fox News. Starve Harris Faulkner out. She is horrible. She is absolutely horrible. I don't know if you paid attention to any of her reporting, but she is damn sure horrible.
I've seen worse on Fox News back when I used to watch them.
Than Harris Faulkner? Who?
The Weekend Crew.
Shepard Smith, maybe. Well, she was the Weekend Crew.
No,
her and that white guy.
Leland Vittert. Remember that guy?
Yeah, I remember him too.
I think he's in the I'm talking months because I haven't watched that.
That was the guy, Leland Vittert. That's the guy that told Brett Baer, dude. And Brett was like, dude, don't call me dude.
Yeah. He was the one that was chased away from D.C. He was supposed to be covering the protest at the Capitol, or not the Capitol, at the White House when they burned the church or whatever. And they chased Leland Vittert's ass out of there.
I remember that.
And he had to have security escort him out there.
So, Ken, your thoughts on everything, on the clip with Matt Gaetz and on CPAC and all that, man.
Okay, all right. So we went to CPAC last year, right?
I was there.
And I was there for all 4 days, right? Well, Rocky and I got a little tore up the first night in the hotel, and
Imagine that.
Didn't realize that the VP, Pence, was going to be speaking, and so we had a little bit of a delay getting into the venue the next day. But if you saw what Matt Schlapp was bringing into the fold, what was it? He told basically Romney, piss off, right? You don't get to speak here, But the people that we saw on stage were just normal people, for the most part, other than the popular guys, doing radio shows like Mark LeFay and stuff like that. But I mean, it was normal people. They brought in, what the heck is the guy, the guy that does the pawn shop thing out there in Las Vegas. He got to speak for close to an hour. And he was talking not politics but economics. Something that.
Yeah, they tried the John Taffer thing, and they try that stuff. But what you got to look at is CPAC is the conservative political action, and the actual CPAC event is convention, but the conservative political action committee is, what Matt Schlapp represents.
Right.
It's the GOPE. It's GOP Incorporated. It's one of the reasons that I turned away from them.
But if you still listen to somebody like Rick, who owns the pawn shop, and says, hey, you're bringing this thing, if you watch the show, okay, I don't know how this guy ended up on the History Channel.
Right. I don't know.
But if you listen to the guy, he's very knowledgeable about history, and when people bring certain things in, now I know it's all the whole thing when it comes to politics is a bad reality TV show.
Right.
When you look
no, it is. You're right.
Yeah,
but like I said, we're at a point right now where we can't afford this same old thing anymore. You know what I mean? It's too serious where we are. Maybe during the last 50 years we had the latitude to bullshit around with these fake conservatives like are at CPAC, but we don't have that luxury anymore, man. We're at a point right now. Word conservative, that word, we should eliminate the word conservative from our lexicon. It should be out the window because people call Mitt Romney a conservative. They call Kasich a conservative, and none of them are. They're not what we are. And so maybe we're not conservative. Maybe we're patriots or whatever. I'm very, very big on language matters. And I don't want to be associated with these people anymore, Ken.
Like you said before, or I've said, or somebody said before, it all comes down to controlling the language.
That's right.
If you control the language, you can, control what happens.
That's right. And that's my mission. That's my mission, Ken. I'm going to control the language. That's my mission. I want to thank you for calling, man. You have a great weekend. I got to roll out of here because Jack has to go to bed, man. You know what I mean? All right, brother. Thanks, man.
Jack wants to do another 2 hours.
I know he does, but I can't handle it, man.
Let's just try to rein this show in.
Thank you, Ken. Thank you very much, man. All right, let's see how that works. I'm such a jag-off. All right, let's go to the crime of the century, or actually the media lie of the century, and Dan Bongino. And I want to say, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, if you're listening to this show for the first time, or haven't listened to too many, I'll probably stay on here for if somebody calls for to the bottom of the hour. 412-206-6208. If you're a new caller, give us a call because that's the only way we can do this thing. But the media lie of the century, I said either on Monday's or Wednesday's show how I wasn't a big fan of Dan Bongino. And I listened to my comments and I realized I wasn't talking about Dan Bongino. I was talking about another dude that I saw the way he operated and I didn't really approve of it. David Webb. Oh. And I'm just a racist white dude who thinks all black people look the same, I guess.
He's a black conservative talk show host.
He's exactly my age. Yeah, his voice is almost as good as mine. But I saw him doing some things I didn't like, but that's all right. So Dan Bongino, I misidentified him with somebody else. But I want you to listen to his comments about Joe Biden.
Really fascinating op-ed, but on this nuclear football story, I'm not kidding. When the producer sent this to me, I had to read this twice. I thought, like, is this sorry? I thought, was it Babylon Bee? Is this The Onion? This is a real story.
It was fake news,
I mean, think about how. Yeah. Right, I thought. No, I'm not kidding. Like, is he trying to be funny about this? I mean, this is a real story. These are Democrats. You said it in your opening segment. I hope everybody didn't miss the line. Is there something these Democrats aren't telling us? Because it's something I warned about before the election. I was getting from my sources. Sean, again, it gives me absolutely no joy in saying this, and I mean that. He is in real significant trouble, Joe Biden. And listen to me. Everyone around him, everyone knows it. Everyone knows it. This is the scandal that they're not telling you how bad his condition really is.
You're a former Secret Service agent. Are you saying that if we were to bring on Secret Service agents, they would confirm what you're saying? Is that, I mean...
Well, they call it the Secret Service for a reason. But I maintain a lot of contacts outside of even law enforcement. And I'm telling you, from what I've heard from people in my network, everyone knows how bad it is. Everyone. It's not a mystery. It is the worst kept secret in the White House. And how they can... Think about this. We're only in the second month of this. How bad is this going to be 4 years from now? This is a serious problem. This is not a joke.
That would mean a cover-up, concealing something from the American people, potentially. Again, I'm not a doctor. I'm not going to play one on TV. I'm not going to play one on radio. My own observation, Matt, is if you go back 4 years, 10 years ago, he looks weak and frail, and he's obviously struggling cognitively. I'm not making a medical diagnosis.
Cognitively,
but the reality
Sean gets
is
these words,
everybody
man.
sees it,
Who sold
and there's
him that
only a
word?
few of us willing to talk about it and be honest about it.
And what you have to realize is on the left.
Well, you got this. We got a really good chat room, ladies and gentlemen. So if you're listening to the show and maybe listen to the podcast or whatever later on, or you're not in the chat room, let's just let me introduce to you a couple people in the chat room. I mean, here we go.
And Tommy and me, and there was Anthony Stabile.
How you doing?
Frankie Carbone. And then there was Mo Black's brother, Fat Andy.
Fat Andy, he's
and
the
his
man.
guys, Frankie the Wop, Freddie No Nose. And then there was Pete the Killer, who was Sally Balls' brother. And you had Nicky Eyes.
What's up, guy?
And Mikey Francesi.
That guy, yeah, I want to see him.
He's a real
And Jimmy Two Times, who got that nickname because he said everything twice, like...
I'm gonna go get the papers, Come on, look it up. Vinny, they're gonna be at a slide by the time you get this thing going. Come on, lift it up. There you go. Watch the wall. Come out, Vinny. What is this, coats? Henry, I need suits, Henry, not coats. Suits are coming Thursday. I know, but this is the middle of fucking summer. What am I going to do with fur coats? You know what? First, I'll take the first. No. Take them away. I want them. You know what we do? We'll hang them up. We'll hang them in the freezer with the meat.
For us to live any other way was nuts.
What are you going to do, man? What are you going to do about it? Come on, man. Sally Balls. I mean, Michael Francesi. I mean, that's a real dude. You know what I mean?
The papers.
Let me go get the papers. Anyway, that's how we roll, man. There's an MSNBC analyst out there, Jack, that thinks that this is a very, very important clip. I want you to listen to this, and I honestly feel that this is going to predicate a situation where we have to fight. And again, like the first Civil War in the United States of America, the Supreme Court were cowards in the Dred Scott decision, which predicated the war. And we're at the same point in history now. The Supreme Court are cowards, refused to litigate something that needed to happen. And it didn't work. And I want you to listen to these leftists.
MSNBC, right? Microsoft teaming with NBC.
Right.
The head of Microsoft was Bill Gates, who loves the United Nations, who loves vaccines. Continue.
Listen to the clip and listen to how they completely write off our side. I mean, this is a prelude. If you want to understand whether or not we're going to get in a shooting war, this is the kind of thing you have to listen to.
And everyone else involved in putting this commission together, you start with the truth. And Jason Johnson, in an age filled with lies, especially the big lie that's been swirling around us now since the middle of the campaign about election fraud, it's critical that we have a 9/11 style commission that can dig down and get to the truth about what happened on that day and why our law enforcement agencies were not ready for the attacks that everybody seemed to know were coming.
I agree, Joe, but I don't think that you can make this a bipartisan committee. And one of the reasons that you can't, look, we all wish that was the case, right? We all wish that you could have, 5 Republicans, 5 Democrats, and they get together and work it out. But you literally have a significant chunk, not just 4 or 5 loud people, but you have over 140 in the House and several dozen in the Senate. You have a significant chunk of the Republican Party that is pretending that not just the insurrection either didn't happen, but that maybe their colleagues and ideology that they pushed for and the candidate they supported didn't have anything to do with it. And you can't put together an investigative committee on an issue where literally your coworkers may have also been conspirators. So, look, if there was an independent prosecutor they could bring in, they want to bring in the UN. Obviously, we would never do that in America. But if we cannot get an independent prosecutor, then this might be the best option that we have. And if we allow the Democrats to, or if the Democrats allow the Republicans to bully them or shame them or gaslight them into making this a 50-50 bipartisan committee, you're going to get nothing but a bunch of knuckleheads like Matt Gaetz and Jim Jordan who are going to sit on the committee and try and veer things into studying Antifa or Black Lives Matter or something else like that and turn the whole thing into a farce. Meanwhile, people like Officer Sinek and Eugene Goodman and men and women who put their lives on the line to protect everybody are going to be insulted and dismissed and pushed to the side. So this might be our best option. And also, this is also really key, the investigation that could be done by this committee.
So there you go, man. I mean, this is what they feel, man.
Yeah. Didn't he invoke the life of the Capitol Police guy that ended up not being killed by a fire extinguisher during
and his
riot?
own family said he had a stroke. Yeah. I mean, the guy's own family. And you look at the police lieutenant, the African-American police lieutenant who murdered the Air Force woman, Babbitt. I mean, it's pretty clearly documented. And none of these things are even talked about. It's all...
The evidence that the police, the Capitol Police, actually, opened up the Capitol, opened the barrier, invited the folks in, right?
Yeah.
The fact that Antifa and BLM activists were there trying to instigate stuff is not reported by the media. So the narrative there to fuel the second impeachment, which failed miserably, and to distract from the theft of the election, so far has succeeded for these fools. But, the evidence is still out there, just waiting to be seized. And as soon as the truth starts defeating the cover-up, people are going to be highly pissed.
No, I agree.
That they've been snowed for this long,
But again, I gotta worry. how many people are just feeling like it's normal,
That's the part. You have somebody trying to cover up and say, oh, Pelosi's overwhelmed by the progressives on her side. I'm like, nah, she's a freaking progressive herself, right?
I know. Now I had some email, I had some hate mail when I was describing, the VFW, the chat room, and who was in there. I had some hate mail saying that I was, kind of focusing on the Italians, and there's so many more people that are in the chat room than just the Italians. So I had to adjust, and let's give another shout out to the chat room.
I'm talking about Navi Red, Theo, Tony, and Milton, Mike, Sluggo, and Mike Chilliam, D.O.B., Reggie B, and Sid, Dano B, Derek B, Sean B, and don't forget Big Hank, Don Ice, and Sire Rock.
Big Hank, my man.
Chuck and Pope Chop, Elder Rob, way back in the day, had all the brothers on the hill talking this way. They said, God, have mercy, L.A., Sunshine, and my DJ, Easy Lee, are from around the way. Jock, Philly, and Don D, all way, but they're chillin'. Keith, KV, Steve-O, Ross and A.F., Baroni, Torsky and Brody. We fight by the hands and nobody's a pawn. Got it.
Wild West. Ignored by the media and the FBI, Antifa BLM activists are posting photos and bragging online about storming the U.S. Capitol on January 6th. By Jim Hoft, earlier this week we asked the question, can we reform an FBI that behaves like a Gestapo? It's a legitimate question to raise because there's still some patriots serving within the ranks of the FBI who are beyond distraught over the gross politicization of their once proud, respected organization. I said this earlier, Jack. Some of the men and women with 20 years in are simply counting the days and hours until they can punch out. To you folks, I would call you cowards. There is genuine, deep-seated hatred for Christopher Wray and his coterie of lackeys eager to suckle on the teat of the deep state. The final straw for many in the Bureau is the dishonest response to the January 6th swarm at the U.S. Capitol, by leftists, by the way. For starters, the FBI had intelligence about Antifa's plans to infiltrate the crowds of Trump supporters and incite violence. But the FBI also was manipulating some of the very groups labeled as white supremacists, that is, the Proud Boys. While the FBI leadership is doing everything in their power to paint honest, law-abiding Trump supporters as nation terrorists eager to impose Ku Klux Klan, that's Democrats, rule across the nation, the frontline agents who are doing the interviews of persons of interest are coming up with nothing from the Trump folks. No evidence of planning, coordinating, or executing violence. Well, let me tell you something for those of you in that category. Open your frickin' mouth or die with the rest of the traitors. Jack, your thoughts?
It's so obvious, the infiltration aspect. If you go back to Charlottesville, there is a person involved with what the media and the Democrats said was a white supremacist group. His name escapes me at the moment, but he was supposedly the leader of this group, supposedly a Trump supporter, and he was at Charlottesville.
Was he a Proud Boy? I mean, the whole Proud Boy.
The Proud Boy. The
Proud
Boy one is the next effort, right? It's led by Democrat operatives.
No. The Proud Boys are not Democrat operatives.
There was one guy arrested that was a member of that group that was not what he has seen.
Okay.
The leader of the one group that was very vocal is Richard something, his last name. I can't recall it at the moment, at Charlottesville. turned out he was the leader of a Democrat group.
Right.
And he's a leftist. I mean, it's all infiltration.
That's right.
It's subversion and
demonization. Demonization of anything white. Anything white is demonized, and the entire country is already conditioned for that.
And it's not just white. It's conservative. Anything associated with,
right.
Common decent folk, the Republic.
Right. Mm-hmm. But when you start talking race,
churches, right?
It's
the churches
that
were being burned down and with Nazi symbols on it. The news media reported it as white supremacist attacks on faith. And 2 weeks later, it comes to find out it is actually a left-leaning member of the church that put marks up on the church or whatever to make it look like what the media reported. But the media, once that news surfaced, did not, with the same vigor, report it that it was not true, right? So
no, I agree. And one of the things that made me the maddest when I saw the generals coming out after the attack on the White House, when they lit the Episcopal Church on fire, which happens to be my denomination, and then I saw generals and pastors who happen to be black in the Episcopal Church.
The Secretary of Defense, basically stand up and say, he shouldn't do this. I'm like,
it's horrible. I know it's horrible. Anyway, Jack, another successful end of the week show, my man. I appreciate that. We went a couple seconds after.
Hey, 10. We need to tighten up,
I know.
We went over.
That's all right. I love it, man. I hope you did too. Any final comments for the vast Cold War Radio audience, my man?
I just want to utter that, hey, thanks for tuning in. If you tuned in and you haven't been a part of the VFW, the Spreaker chat room during the show, please take the time, sign up for Spreaker and get in that chat room and join this crew of folks that often disagree, but
True.
They do it civilly and they do it in the American way. We are freedom-loving folks here. See you next week.
All right, Jack, great stuff, man. From Virginia, my wingman on Friday nights, because he can stay there, man. He can hang as long as we hang. But now 2.5 hours is long enough. Thanks for calling. For all of you guys that called up, if you're listening to the show on a podcast, 412-567-1460. We'll play it. You only get 2 minutes on that one. If you got some long shit, come on and join the live program. Or send more to one voicemail. Go to rsbn.bandcamp.com. Support Jacob Seals. He's playing in the background right there, the American Dreamer. Love that song. Thanks, everybody. We will be back on Monday with Ward Miller, and Cold War Radio will start another week. Thanks for letting us into your life for a couple hours. Ladies and gentlemen, God bless.
us pray. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen.